100 million years of dead shrimp, kind of got washed up, through Carnera. So you've got these chalky, calciferous soils down there closer to the bay. And within that, you've got all kinds of variations. And of course, on the Miller Ranch, we have that because you've got, river sand and rolled stone, and and also some of the loams that are the runoffs from the western side of the valley, and some of the schist that is coming from the eastern side of the valley from the washed by the Napa River. And the neat thing about having a single vineyard then is that you've got, for us, about 8 different distinct soil types on the ranch, and that allows us to put different rootstock in. The funny thing about Sauvignon Blanc is it's highly susceptible as a variety. So actually, all of our Sauvignon Blanc is a single clone. It's clone 1, which came in to California in the 1880s because of the California Grape Commission, which went all over France. And you know that story, right? That's the fabulous history of Phylloxera, our beautiful gift to Europe. California Grape Commission went all over Europe, collecting cuttings of clonal material of noble varieties, because in the 1850s, when we had the gold rush, the only thing they could find was mission grapes that the Franciscans had brought up from Mexico, and we thought we weren't going to get very far making mission wine. The state of California commissioned these, folks to go over and get cuttings, and we thought, in fairness, we should share a little of our own vine cuttings and introduce Phylloxera, unfortunately, to France. So that was not a good exchange, not our best moment. But anyway, from Chateau Yquem, we got Clone 1 Sauvignon Blanc. And it's interesting because Marlborough, that fabulous Sauvignon Blanc grape growing area in New Zealand, got their Sauvignon Blanc from California. And if you think about Paysac and Yountville and Marlborough, and that all being the same clone, and how truly different it is in all those areas. I mean, radically different. It just shows you how variable and how adaptable, I should say, that great clone is that originated over in Bordeaux. So that's all we have on the ranch, but because we've got these 8 different soil types and they're on different rootstock, they really respond differently. And we match yeast as well to those different types to try to get kind of that full spectrum of yellow and green and orange citrus, and maybe a little melon if we're lucky on a little bit of a warmer year, and maybe a little tangelo if we're lucky in a little bit of a cooler year. That's the lovely thing about a single vineyard, is you can really dial into kind of the micro block level and really adjust your fermentations and your yeast to those individual underlying soil types. So that's the Miller Ranch, which should, what a lovely description. I think the wine is just almost as good. And with that, I should mind my manners and say once again thank you for joining us, and cheers to you all. Cheers. Nikki's like my dentist. She always asks me a question when I'm drinking. Wow, I tell you, Nikki. How big is the vineyard? The vineyard stretches from, as I said, from the river up to Hopper Creek, and it's roughly it's roughly 20 acres. Not all of that's planted, obviously. One of the things that we did about 6 years ago, working with California land stewards and fish-friendly farming, was that we actually took out some vineyard to put in a wetlands. Hopper Creek comes running down through Christian Muex's place there, Dominus, right across the highway. Then it runs into a culvert, and then goes into a little concrete canal, and goes rushing through Yountville, picking up road oil and Coke bottles on the way, and then it comes gushing out delightfully into our ranch. And one of the things that we wanted to ensure was that, well, 2 things. One is that we really cleaned up that water before it got to the river, because there's a big project going on all along for folks like us who are right along the river, the Napa River. We've been working to restore Chinook and steelhead trout runs in the river. And so we want to make sure that there are great spawning areas and that the water is good and also the right temperature. So it not only needs to be cleaned up, but it also needs to be cooler, because salmon won't spawn above a certain temperature. And so what we did right along Harbor Creek, right through the property, is just to widen it and to plant a lot of shade, native, oak basically, to shade the creek. And also we planted I'm getting really technical on this, aren't I?
Guys, technically.
I spent a lot of time on this, by the way. I know you don't care, but it's really important. We planted this tuber that actually eats petroleum. It's really cool. So right when the water comes right out of Yountville, we've got this kind of big marshy, bulrush kind of looking place that actually soaks up some of that road runoff, so that the water gets pretty cleaned up. So